Hey, we are back with the First Draft podcast. Fred, Blanca, Cris here again, episode 4. I think today we're going to start off with the Reddit forum. Am I the a-hole? Always a good source of entertainment. So
I always feel like that's me, guys.
Oh gosh, we got a good one today. So Blanca, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Oh, I'm on the wrong book. I'm
It's
sorry,
all right.
y'all.
Hey, hey, we're all taking notes here. We need it for
this is for the next segment.
Yep.
And this is how we do our podcast. We want to show the actual full process in a way on film. So it just comes off
the
as
bloopers.
natural.
Hence the name First Draft. So
First draft.
That's right.
It's always first drafts. It's raw and real.
I'll preface this. We're gonna make this abridged because this is a really long one. So Blanca's gonna summarize for us a little bit, for time's sake. So why don't you go ahead and start us off?
So the question is, am I the a-hole for constantly being annoyed and exhausted by my boyfriend? We are long distance. He's never dated anyone. We don't want to separate. We've been dating since October 2023 and we don't live together. So this story starts this year, just 4 months ago.
Okay.
I had an important trip and he's arguing with me constantly for no reason and getting very mean, and it's stressing me out. He did apologize to me while I was flying, and when I landed, I accepted his apology. Okay. When I got home a few days later, I called him and we worked it out, and it's been fine since then. Then afterwards, I had another trip, but it was personal, and I needed to visit my family for a few weeks. He's jealous and mad and constantly arguing with me again over silly things, and it's overwhelming me. Am I the a-hole for constantly being annoyed and exhausted by my boyfriend?
I don't know.
And I did summarize this. There were a couple other situations that she brought up where he's also just silly things like this, getting mad at her and jealous and arguing with her over things that she has to do in life.
Well, I'll kick it off. So I would say no, she's not the a-hole. These relationships, especially, I don't think the ages of the people are mentioned. It seems like a more casual.
They were mentioned.
I didn't see the ages mentioned.
I should have mentioned that.
She might not put
it just showed the sexes. It said male, female. I didn't see any ages. And
they weren't mentioned.
Yeah,
right.
So we don't know.
So assuming it's like a casual, maybe early 20s relationship, perhaps.
Maybe.
I think there's it could be late teens or something.
I think that because she's traveling to see her family
for her job,
for her family and her job.
It's for her job. So early 20s, perhaps.
I'm thinking early 20s.
It's an interesting dynamic, regardless, and she it's difficult, because they don't have. There's trials and tribulations in all these relationships. I don't know what their plan is, what their purpose is, and in these kind of stages, you do have to do a lot of give and take. And I think that she's not the a-hole. The boyfriend is okay to be incensed, and she and the nature of the trips as well. They were for what? For
work and personal family.
These are the kind of pitfalls of a lot of kind of modern relationships as well. You have to. There's a lot of traveling, especially for a long distance, and it's not really, these aren't people you're meeting in the community or anything like that. So these are the risks that you have to take. It's a weird circumstance. I don't think anyone is at fault here. These are the implicit kind of rules when you deal with a kind of a more modern dating style. So I don't know. Fred, what do you
take on that? Oh, you're kicking it off to me. I don't know. I guess I'm a little confused, and of course I don't have the full context I'm just confused as to why she thinks because she's taking trips. How is she correlating that with the arguments that her and her boyfriend are having? Is it just the timing? Because the timing of her trips is correlating with.
I think he's getting mad at her every time she has to take a trip.
Okay, that's what I was trying to understand, because she didn't explicitly say that, like, he's told me taking trips is what's triggering him.
No, because I don't think she didn't say that. I
She
don't think
didn't
he's
say
mature
that,
enough
yeah.
to probably. It doesn't seem like he may be mature enough to express that. He's just pouting, in my opinion. That's what it seems
yes,
like.
yes. Okay.
Okay, then that makes sense. That's my only thought. I mean, I don't know. I don't think she's the a-hole. Maybe he's the a-hole. Maybe he's the a-hole. You know.
Yeah.
You know,
but I don't know, because
right.
I don't have enough context. And then I don't know. It's hard for me to contextualize long distance relationships. Like at that point, if anybody's traveling, I mean, you all have to travel to see each other at that point. If you all actually are going to meet up.
More importantly,
I find a lot of this on Reddit. Like, I've been on Reddit a lot lately, and I'm in a group chat, and I don't want to go into my personal situation too much, but I've been on Reddit a lot in regard to relationships, and like probably 15 to 20% of the people that have issues are long distance, and I can't even fathom that. I would never. I've only been in a long distance relationship once, and I would me personally, I would never do it again. Unless it was something magical or something that's like a pure unicorn of a relationship. So I don't know. I feel like I don't have enough experience to express myself about it. What do you think?
About the situation, I don't think she's, well, with the limited information we have, I don't think she's the a-hole. I think that he's acting out like a kid. And not that maybe he has some things that he rightfully so could bother him, you know, because they're not newer. October 2023, and this started happening 5 months into their relationship, because she said in March. I didn't read that part out loud. So 5 months into their relationships, he started acting this way. So, you know, it is long distance, so I'm trying to see both sides and keep in mind, like, relationships are hard enough anyway, and then when you're long distance, you have to just really trust what the person is telling you is true. So but I think he's going about it the wrong way, and that's why she's not the a-hole, but he is. Because even when you're right, you can be wrong if you express something incorrectly or don't express what you really feel. You know, he could come to her and let her know, hey, this is new to me, having a long distance relationship. It involves a lot of trust. I want to make sure that this is making me this is a little bit hard for me.
Yes.
You know, talk to her in that way, like be truly real about how it's making him feel. And I think he's not doing that, because I think if he does it, he thinks it's going to make him seem like weak emotionally or something, you know, and he's the man. But when instead he's acting this way, and it's making him seem like a petulant toddler. Like, you're throwing temper tantrums, you're pouting, and none of that is attractive. And it's way worse to act that way than to just come out and say it and being vulnerable. But it's hard to be vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean,
and you consider somebody in their especially it's hard to be vulnerable at any age, but in your early 20s, you know, it's really hard.
It's super technical to do that. Yeah, I guess the other thing too is maybe he having an insecurity. Does he think she's lying about where she's traveling to, and maybe that's part of his insecurity? Like, how do I know you're not traveling to go see another long distance?
Yeah, could be.
I'm not saying that she's doing that. I'm saying
no, that his mind is
spiraling into
his mind is kicked into overdrive. That's why he's what is it, spiraling? That's the word. He's spiraling since the first trip, because she had another trip. Now it's family, and now like he can't stop spiraling because he's in a downward spiral. Like he's gonna crash land, and she's not gonna be there, you know.
Well, Well, I'll bring it back to a macro level. The real reason why this is so problematic, which would not be problematic in any other circumstances, because they're not married, they're just dating. And so you have this weird gray area where they're both together, but they're separate simultaneously. So there's a contradiction there that has to be resolved. Can she fly around the country at will? Can he do whatever he wants? Or are they, what kind of obligations do they have to each other? And because I guess he waited, it's 5 months and he hasn't proposed to this girl. So I guess this is because he hasn't actually taken any kind of initiative on that. This is unfortunately what he has to deal with. And this is maybe a cogent warning for other people wanting to pursue the same thing. It's these are the kind of problems you have to face. And he's
I just think
he's not the A. It's weird because he should be in control of the situation and kind of push things along, but he has maybe failed in his abilities and his responsibilities to do that. And so he has this weird situation where the girl, his beloved, his Beatrice, is jet setting around the country for these trips that are purportedly for family or work or health or whatever.
Could very well be.
And maybe let's assume
probably being honest.
She's probably being honest.
I think
for
she
sure.
is.
But that's why he's probably upset, is because he's.
Well, he should just be vulnerable.
It's troubling.
I don't even think you need I don't have a problem with your take. I don't think you even need the constructs of a marriage to define that. I just think more open communication and then setting the parameters around that will help them both feel better.
Now let me say,
but you can't set parameters without a marriage label, though, because when you
can have open communication and say, this is what we're going to allow in our relationship and this is not what we're going to allow in our relationship.
I suppose, but you can't.
Because you can set parameters in a marriage and not follow them, right?
Depending what kind of marriage, yes, you're right. But if especially if you're just in a dating relationship,
be autonomous within a marriage. Hence why we're at a very high.
Not in a traditional marriage. You're not. Autonomy is.
I'm not talking about the definition. I'm saying what actually occurs. Is all I'm saying. I'm not trying to define. Yeah. I'm not trying to define the definition of marriage. I'm saying what people actually do, like the logical conclusion of the application of it in real life.
Let me say, I agree with what you're saying, Cris, because this is the thing. If relationships are hard enough, right? Mm-hmm. So what is your intention?
Yes.
I like that.
That's first of all, that's the real question. Mm-hmm. What is his intention?
Correct.
As a man, right? I do think that he should know if he wants to get married, one.
Right.
If he doesn't, then okay. But let's say if he wants to get married and if she seems like she's potentially the one. If that's the case, you got to, like, even though you might not propose for 6 or 9 months, let's say, or a year, right? You have to let the other person know you're already thinking in those terms, to maybe with not necessarily by telling them, but by feeling them out, because this is the time you're getting to know someone.
Okay.
But you behave in a way that makes that person feel secure,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And it's a back and forth, right? And you can't make somebody act that way. You have to act that way and see if it's reciprocated. Now,
that's a good.
I agree with what Cris is saying, because in a relationship where you're both in the same city, right? You have to know your intention and have a time frame for yourself and the other person. Anything over a year and you're not proposing, there's a problem with that. There's a problem with that because it starts going into the long-term relationship type situations where in 3 to 5 years, you all likely won't be together, and they become waste of time. And I'm agreeing with you from so much experience that I had where I did it all wrong. And every time I did it wrong, up until the last time I dated, it didn't work out because intentions weren't set clearly, because decisions weren't made clearly, and because things were dragged out, right? And of course, like, I'm speaking from a conservative point of view, right? But let me say this. In a long distance relationship, it's even more important to be to have more of a sense of urgency about setting that intention. You know, and if it's been 5 months and he has started acting this way, right? It's on him. It's on him because one, he's the man. Two, at that point, if this is the person that he thinks he's going to be proposing to, he should be 100% okay with whatever she's doing for work and family, because he's not going to have this mindset of she's my future wife if he doesn't fully trust her, right? If he fully trusts her because he's already thinking that way, then he won't be acting this way. Of course, anyone, like no one's 100% trustable, not even like, you know, the most the most pious.
That's a tough standard to come by. Like 100% trustable.
No one is. That's what I'm saying. No one is. Not even the most pious person is 100% trustable.
Yeah.
You know, where you can trust them, but at least there's a reasonable amount of trust, where it's a reasonable and necessary amount of trust to see your future with this person. So basically, I think he's dropping the ball in a lot of cases, and he's basically he knows that he's not really going to the next level, you know, for whatever reason, and at the same time he's still
projecting his.
He still wants what the next level would entail. The next level is not necessarily he's proposing at that moment, but the next level is where she knows that could be imminent in the next,
I guess, where
3 to 4 to 6 months.
I guess where I disagree with you both, not objectively for overall relationships, but isn't the next level for them to move to the same city first before they get married?
That could be another.
Could be,
I mean, like,
not necessarily, but
you don't even live in the same city.
It could be, but
like,
that's
you
not
don't even have enough
necessarily
commitment to do that. Like, what? We're getting married?
I think
we're flying in and we're
in my opinion, if you can get to know someone, the main way you get to know someone is, like, I think long distance would be a great way, because you're not like, you're really having to get to know someone. You have to talk, right? More than ever. It's like the physicality is out of the way.
Yeah,
so the chemistry can't, like, it's not as much in the way where it can blind you so much. You know, you have chemistry, but all these like lustful feelings and all of that are easier because you're really getting to know the person. So the next step could be moving, but the next step could maybe be just proposing and then moving after that. You know, proposing and moving.
I just wouldn't do that. Me personally, I would not make that decision. Like, but to be fair, I wouldn't be in a long distance relationship in the first place. Like,
right.
It just doesn't work for me at this point.
Never say never.
No, I've done it one time.
But never say never again.
No, I would never do it. I would have friends, and like, when I say friends, I mean true friends, platonic friends on a long distance level, and I have many of them.
Oh yeah, but that's totally different than this. This is a relationship. Yeah.
I can never do it.
We all have friends long distance, but this relationship thing is totally different.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. That's why it just seems weird to me to jump from like we don't even see each other or interact with each other every day to like I'm making a lifetime commitment to you. You know, it's like that's just strange to me.
Yeah, you can't do that, and you have to. Obviously, you would have to meet in person before you. There's no way you can.
I don't see where they've not met in person though.
No, I didn't say.
Yeah, they have. That's right.
Yeah,
but I was just saying the next step to their specific or particular situation. I would think. Because at that point, it's like what you're saying. At least now I'm making an investment in you. Like I'm willing to move wherever they're from to be with you and start this next step.
Now, why would you move if you haven't proposed, or if you're not going to imminently propose? Like,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Why would I move? No, that's like, if I'm going to move, it's because we're going to go forward with this, and you know that once I get settled in, I'm gonna be proposing to you. Otherwise, or you're gonna move and to me, whichever way. But it seems like, why would I move to show you and then no? If you both are not on the same page that this is for sure gonna be going somewhere, then there's no reason to move. First, it has to be like an understood, or you have to talk like.
Exactly.
It can't be as much of a surprise proposal because you're long distance. You basically have to know very well what the other person is thinking and what their intentions are, because it is long distance.
Yes.
So if someone's going to move, it's because we plan on getting engaged. Otherwise, why would you move? I mean that, and that's coming from a point of view of why be in a relationship if you're not going to get married.
Right. That's kind of,
which is a whole nother topic.
That's kind of a more fundamental question.
That's a whole nother, and that's it. That's
I mean, I would even say that they need to move to a compromised space to show the truth. Like he shouldn't have to move to her city. She shouldn't have to move to his city. I mean, unless it's like,
well, that's unless they might want to.
Unless it's like Indiana and Louisville, Indiana and southern Indiana and Louisville, like.
But usually, one of the people doesn't mind moving.
So yeah, but I would say if I was gonna do that, I would.
You're saying
we would have to have a 50-50 compromise and say move into a whole new arena to start this bond, I guess.
Right.
Even though in that situation, though, it'd still be better. I think you agree. One of you all move into the other person's. It's kind of impractical to both of you all relocate to a brand new city. If one of you all is already.
That's idea. I mean, if I was to be a part of a long distance relationship and take it to the next level, that would be one of my requirements subjectively.
So you're gonna move to another city, and I'm gonna move to another city, and we're gonna meet up there.
A compromised place, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So those are our thoughts on this Reddit AITA.
Nice.
So a hot topic. This is the topic that's been generating a lot of discussion on the internet.
It's been relevant for about a month or so. I'm assuming a lot of people know know a lot about it. I'll go ahead and recap a couple significant details. This happened in Illinois.
Yes.
This lady was a 36-year-old Black woman. She called 911 to get the cops to come to her residence.
Yes.
This gentleman, Officer Grayson, he came with another officer who's unnamed.
Yeah.
One thing led to another. He shot her, and she expired. She passed away, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, for sure.
And there's a lot of controversy about this case, and there's a video involved. It's graphic. I'm sure you can find it if you want to. But he shot her while she was holding a pot of boiling water, and she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," which is
crazy word.
She might have been going through some kind of severe mental state here. It's unclear what exactly happened. I've got the same information you guys have. I guess the officer thought that she was going to throw the water on him, and
he shot
her dead. So this is the topic du jour right now. So yeah, we're going to discuss this. What is your all's take on this particular case?
I want you to go first.
No, I want you to go first.
No.
Yes.
I want you to go first.
Go first because I'm not gonna go.
All right, my take is there's multiple takes on this, right?
Sure.
Like there's a legality arena that you could take on it, and then there's a social justice arena you could take on it. There's a mental illness arena you could take on it. There's a spiritual arena you could take on it, and I think that's why it's so intriguing. That's all I really want to say. I have a specific opinion about it, but I've also seen what a lot of people don't know is that there's actually two filmings of the incident. There's the body cam from the officer who did the shooting, and body cam from the other, what did we say, unnamed officer,
the partner,
unnamed officer.
Sure.
And so the problem is a lot of people have only seen the footage from the unnamed officer's body cam. Well, yeah, officer. Well, yeah, I said officer's body cam.
Oh, body
cam. Yeah. Just using the apostrophe S.
Oh, okay,
his cam, body cam.
You just said body cam slowly after.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah,
it's
not
good.
multiple officers. The other officer's body cam. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, which doesn't. I'm sorry. It doesn't change my opinion about how I feel about it, but it does give a different perspective, which I think legally is going to change the outcome of whatever the case is, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to be first-degree murder.
So there were. Did she actually throw a pot or try to throw a pot at him? Because I feel like I saw multiple explanations where she was taking it off the stove and then or moving it maybe to the side where it wasn't hot, and then where she looked like she was going to throw it at him. I couldn't really tell. Like, it was.
Well, there's multiple angles. So there's a point in the video, if you actually look at the footage, there's a point where she actually, like, when he tells her, put it down or I'm going to shoot you in the face, she does actually put it down. Like, she actually complied with his demands. And I think that's the part where people have a problem with the.
So she was picking it up to put it on the non-hot burner?
She not only that, she put it like on the sink. Like, she puts it down. If you look at there's a ton of video.
Why? That's not my question. Is why does she pick it up? If she went over there, she didn't.
Initially she took it off the burner because
that's my question.
The officer said, "Hey, turn that off. I don't want a fire to start in here."
And she didn't just turn it off. She turned it off and picked
it up and then set it down. And then what's weird is the officer's telling her to set down the pot, but the pot is not in her hands at that point. Like, she has what do you call those?
Oven mitts?
I was going to say oven mitts, but is that the correct term?
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, she went above and beyond, like, just turning it off. She went to move it also. Right. Which, if he hadn't been overcome by whatever he was overcome with, she would still be here. But also, if she would have just turned it off and gone back to sit down, or if he would have told his partner, "Hey, go turn that off."
I agree with that.
Like, go turn that off. If he's already that sketchy and that shifty, right? Because this officer seems to be, like, very reactive. Why didn't he just tell his partner, "Go turn it off," so he could keep an eye on Sonya if he was already feeling that shifty about the situation?
Especially when she's already sitting down and they have her, as what I've heard other officers say, or other officers' analysis, they say, once you have a subject compliant in a position where you all feel safe,
yes,
leave the subject there, and any extraneous activities that need to be controlled, officers will control those activities, so we can just dismiss that concern out of our mind.
That just makes common sense, because any suspect, as an officer, any situation, you don't really know what you're getting into, right? So if, like you said, if the person, not even a suspect at that point, she's the one who called subject, right? Subject. I almost said suspect. I was talking to myself, but
that's a good term, though.
If the suspect or the subject was already, like, fine, sitting down, why are you going to make her or anyone get up and do anything? Because that's just, like, it puts you on higher alert now, because you have to watch them, right? Like, it doesn't even make sense what he did. Like, go turn that off. Why? Why didn't the other officer go turn that off? It just does not make sense to me. And then it's almost like he had a glitch in his memory, like, and everything that he told her to do deleted, and he forgot when she got to the stove that he's the one who told her to go over there. I feel like his whole mind was like stuff was downloading, like he started making a mistake, and then all of a sudden his whole brain went offline. Like, his brain flatlined.
And it is weird the way
came back up.
The footage looks on body cam. I think me and you discussed this off camera when we were researching this. It kind of looks like it's a weird shot, because it looks like she almost teleported to the kitchen. Like, you see her sitting down, and then the next shot, that's not what happened. But just the way because it's a wide angle shot,
made it look bigger.
The perspective makes it look bigger, and you don't actually, like, you don't even see her get up, because the guy that's filming is filming this way. You just see her sitting down. She's over here,
and then she's there.
And I'm thinking, like, well, if that's what it looked like in his sight, that's probably why he got a little bit nervous and a little bit sketched. Like, she's moving too fast. But to prevent that, what we just said, why not keep proceeding?
Yeah.
Just tell your partner to go turn it off.
He failed immediately at that point. I think they started failing the moment that they said, well, can we see your ID? Can we, and they walked inside, that was unnecessary. Yeah, they have every right to whatever, but like that was unnecessary at that point. I
agree.
Because even if they suspected, okay, something's a little off with this lady, what is you seeing her ID gonna do for you right now? She called you all.
And to be fair to the officers, she had made multiple calls during that time frame.
Okay.
I mean, there's even
I forgot about that.
A few conspiracy theories which I've actually researched, and some of them have some reference. Like, apparently, I don't know, that officer's fiance or former fiance, which he was still in a relationship with, has had interactions with her. She was like I don't know. Wow. You all have to research it, but I did look up the name.
Like negative interactions?
Not necessarily negative, just they had interaction and like her requesting help.
Wow.
I don't think that's negative. Like a person that's in mental distress requesting help. From a mental health worker, like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, look it up. I think the last name of his fiance is like Butterfield. You all can look it up. I don't want to go too far down the conspiracy rabbit hole on this.
I just think the whole thing is so sad. And like you said, there's so many angles. There's a justice angle. Mm-hmm. There's a mental health issue angle. There's a police protocol angle.
I agree.
There's a spiritual angle.
I agree.
Like it's so many angles or things combined here. Yeah. And
that create a unfortunate result, right?
Yeah.
That's sad though.
It's so sad because she looked like she looked confused. Yeah. She definitely looked confused, and she definitely seemed scared of them. Because she was like, she didn't want to hang up with the guy on the phone. Like, okay, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to hang up. And she's like, no. Stay with me on the line. And he's like, well, why? The officers are there,
I think he even calls the dispatcher by their name and says, go ahead and hang up. If you really, so I don't think you all have watched the entire Illinois State Police video. I mean, there's even a point where like the whole thing is almost avoided. Like they come there, she called because she was worried. And this is another thing. So this thing happened the weekend of July 4th. So when you're watching the video, which I've seen other people, even people from other countries, look at the video and there's fireworks going off in the background, which me subjectively, as a person that has sometimes a nervous disposition, 4th of July is a trigger, like because there's fireworks, there's people out,
like more like
vigilant, you're more aware, Now imagine somebody being under mental distress. Along with that, it makes it even more tense or more intense, if that makes sense. But they get there and there's a point in the video where she's worried about people on the outside of her house, and they investigate it before they actually make contact with her. And then they make contact with her and they're like, hey, we searched your entire place. ABC is clear. You're good. And the interaction is almost over. Like within the first 10 minutes, and she tells the officers, even though you said that you sensed that she was scared, she actually, if you watch the whole video, there's a point which is heartbreaking. She tells the officers, I love you guys. Thank you all for coming out.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just crazy.
She says that to them?
It's on the video. Oh, she says, I love you guys. Thank you all. She says, I love you guys.
Wow.
Well,
wow.
That's why I think I'll
she says, I love you guys.
That's sad.
And because they were about to exit, they were about to leave. They were like, we investigated everything. We don't find anything. We don't see any prowler. We don't see any robber. We don't see any criminal outside or any evidence of criminal activity. We're about to head out. And she's like, hey, I love y'all. Thank y'all for coming. She says, hey, I love y'all. I can't remember it. You all have to watch it. But she says something to she does say, hey, I love you. But then she says something after that I can't remember. Something like...
What were you going to say, Cris?
Just the situation is so tragic, and I think I'll expand it on extrapolate on like a more macro level.
Extrapolate on that then.
I think what's so disturbing about it, actually, from what I've seen in the brief things I've watched in the videos, because they are graphic. I hate watching that stuff.
Yeah.
I get that. Everyone hates that.
It's just
hard to watch.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's really heartbreaking to watch.
Yeah.
I think what's most troubling, and this is why, because it's a weird case, right? Because you have a white cop and a black victim who actually called the cops, except there's no racial component in it.
Yeah,
so
I don't.
Usually you would see like Ben Crump descend on to the.
Well, he's already been retained by the family.
Is? Okay, so I guess there is a racial component. I didn't know that. It doesn't seem to me like there is one. But what's more important is the fact that in the video, you see that she has her ostensible weapon is a pot of boiling water, which is very deadly, toxic, but she's behind the counter.
Deadly and toxic? No. Boiling water is not toxic. It'll burn you and maybe give you third degree. It's not a toxic chemical.
Yes.
And
no,
it's not, and it's not deadly.
No, it's not. I should not. It's a threat, and but the thing is that what's more important, she's behind a counter, and he's positioned much further away, and so he has range and she has melee, right? Range always beats out melee.
What is melee?
Melee is
close combat. Close combat.
That's combative.
Close
that's
combat.
Martial arts. That's boxing, Muay Thai.
I already knew what you meant.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or
I mean, even strategic warfare. Like if you start talking about cannons and like versus swords and knives.
Cannons are projectiles versus swords and knives. You know, gunpowder versus close combat.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the most troubling thing about the case, is the fact that police, they have ranged weapons, and if the person they're trying to subdue or neutralize, shall we say, does not have ranged weapons, they have fisticuffs or knives or even boiling water, they are at a disadvantage. And so I think maybe it's time to evaluate when you have a conflict between melee and ranged, because legally, if someone approaches you with a knife or anything that they're, even if it's a 300-pound
brass knuckles, let's say
brass knuckles, I mean, those are deadly weapons.
Yeah,
that is.
But if you're half that person's weight and you have a firearm, that's considered an equal match, and maybe it's time to reevaluate that.
It's actually considered an unequal match, even in law. Like if somebody has a knife, I mean, I hate to say the cliche statement is bring a knife to a gunfight, right?
Yeah.
Legally, that's actually considered unequal force.
Yes, it is. But I guess it's more a legal argument, but yes, they should. When it comes to the legal thing, the melee operative,
yes,
at least in this country, is if you want to introduce that into a conflict in this country, you're legally justified. You're legally justified in using ranged combat against that melee operative.
Can you explain to me? I don't understand what.
It depends on the
because that's considered deadly force. So if I try to approach someone with a knife and I think I'm going to go on a stabbing spree like they do.
You're illegally allowed to respond.
You're allowed to put them down with ranged.
That's correct. If you can prove that your life is under duress or at threat.
Well, at the wheel, once someone wields a
boiling pot of hot water is not necessarily lethal.
It's not.
But she wasn't wielding it either.
Exactly. That's what makes it so problematic.
And she never actually verbally said, I would even say that if she said, hey, I'm about to throw this hot, like if she was truly in a mental spiral of illness and she said, hey, if y'all don't leave me alone, I'm about to, I'm going to throw this hot boiling water on you. She never said that.
So what are you saying between what has to be looked at again? The what range and melee, what has to be looked at from a legal standpoint?
Just that
reassessed?
Just that ranged combat versus melee combat should be reassessed because
explain range combat and explain melee combat.
Melee is close quarters, so anything within basically your blood zone or the radius of wherever your arms will extend. Mm-hmm. And range combat is a gun
from a distance. Okay. I mean, well, it could be a bow and arrow too, right? It could be something like that. It could be
of course,
cannon.
But I mean, it could be most people in the West. They don't carry crossbows or bow and arrows. They carry.
No, I'm just trying to give her. I'm just trying. I'm only bringing that up.
In this example, it's the gun.
Yeah,
and
I'm
melee,
not. Yeah.
And melee is the.
That would be.
If somebody had like brass knuckles, for example,
or
brass knuckles or knives,
which is probably the most representative force of a melee.
Oh,
and even actually, melee would be fist to fist too.
Fist to fist, right. Close combat.
But legally, sometimes you can't. Like, there's people that have been convicted for, I want to say, like 2nd-degree murder.
Yeah.
Even though went to say you go to a bar, everybody has a couple of drinks, you get into it with somebody for whatever the reason, and then you start fighting, and then one person pulls out a knife or a gun in the middle of a fist fight and causes the other person to perish or even just get assaulted. The person that there is a thing within the law where you level up the force you're using, that's actually illegal. Like if you're fighting fist to fist and then you pull out a knife and cause harm,
right,
that becomes a crime of assault versus self-defense because you've elevated the level of threat to the other person.
Even if you were to do something like do break a bottle.
Correct.
Like if you break a beer bottle and brandish that
unless you're at a disadvantage. Like if a man's trying to fist fight me, I'm gonna pull out like a bottle. I'm gonna break a bottle and try to smash it or over his head or whatever. And that wouldn't be assault on my part because I'm at a disadvantage. Just even if we were both fist fighting, I'm already at a disadvantage.
So let me ask you all one last question. Do you all think? Let's introduce a moral component into this. Do you think the officer was there maybe it's a more spiritual component? Was there an evil, maybe a devilishly influenced kind of component here to his motives? Was he influenced by? It was kind of odd the way he showed no remorse.
At what point? At the moment?
Afterwards, when he was recounting that with his unnamed officer?
He was such an idiot. I'm sorry. He was like, I wasn't gonna look at that. The hot water's already reaching our feet.
Yeah.
Dude, shut up. I wasn't gonna take a pot of hot water to the head. She almost like it's almost like he was talking like a 5-year-old pouting, like trying to justify what he did when everybody knows what he did is wrong. The tone in his voice, everything, it was like, you are making yourself more, like, not only are you a killer now, I'm not calling him a murderer, but yeah, I believe he was a murderer, but now you're making yourself sound like a total idiot. Like, look at the water. Now it's reaching our feet. Well, of course it's reaching your feet because you shot her and she dropped it out of her hand. All right.
And then also, just to add to the range versus melee, if that's the high ground that he wants to take, why not use a taser instead of the gun?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Why not use non-lethal force when you're dealing with a woman who's obviously not a threat to you? Why not use the less lethal option to subdue her if you feel that that's what's needed in the situation, which is what I found odd. Because I've seen a lot of videos where people have acted way more than a fool than her. And I'm like, how did those guys or those individuals not get shot in the head? And it's like the officer is taking every other course of action versus lethal.
Let's finish this segment. This is going to end it. Let's just end it. I think that he had murderous Ideations.
I like that.
I think that he has idealized murdering someone. That's what I think.
And he wanted to do it under the color of the law.
And I don't think he went in there. Yeah, he might have like had he might have in the past or whenever had been thinking about it, almost like, oh, I kind of want to do that, like, but this is the only way I would get it. Like evil that creeps into your mind, you know, and you start giving it time and thinking about it. I don't think he went in there necessarily to do it to her, but he was open to it. He was already like having ideations about it. So I think we could.
So is that the evil that you all both feel? You think that he had intent evil on his brain?
No, what she's trying to say is that people who want to do that kind of thing
are inherently evil.
No. They perhaps pursue careers that allows them
to commit evil.
So that extends way past law enforcement. That's why we can't go into this on YouTube, but certain people who have let's say predisposed proclivities, they will seek professions to put them in the audience of certain people as well, and so that way they can do that under the guidelines.
The guise of I'm protecting
so
myself for the people.
Basically, predators. If you're a predator, they will seek professions that allow them to prey on people.
I like that.
So
yeah,
I think that's a good way to.
That's good.
End that out.
It's a good take.
All right, gang.
Okay.
Our next topic is New Age spiritualism. This encompasses. This is something we've been talking about for quite a while, or leading up to. This it encompasses a desire for meaning, which a lot of New Age spiritual beliefs try to fulfill. A rising desire for spirituality. There's obviously influence on this on social media, including TikTok and Instagram and a lot of other platforms. So I think it's important to go into this because it does have to do with a lot of the New Age beliefs that are prevalent in the culture. You know, like you have something that that Fred and I have talked about for many years, manifestation, which is kind of fading out of fashion now, but it's been replaced by something more like, obviously you have the crystals, the Reiki, even more so, and it comes in, it presents itself under different names, like even meditation or yoga or even mindfulness. You know, a lot of these things have understandings that need to be evaluated, and I think it's important to cut it.
You restart. I just cut that out and just keep going off.
You're doing good.
All right, fine.
Don't even worry about cutting.
So we have this weird phenomenon that's coming on now, and I think it's important to talk about it. So what do you guys think?
All right. Well, kick it off to me.
Yes.
I took some notes, actually.
Great.
On this, I didn't want to just be talking about what I think it is or my opinion of it. So what I actually did was I just Googled it. And what I found on Google, like certain sites, I wrote down, and surprisingly to me, it seemed like I was reading off Christian websites, but these are not from Christian websites. What I'm about to read, these are straight from Google.com search engine. Okay. Nice. And the AI search engine.
Nice.
Okay. So, what I typed in was what are the different categories of New Age spirituality? And what is New Age spirituality. And this is what came up. Faith-based, it is something faith-based, but rejects religion, specifically the Christian Judeo God, instead believing in other deities and energies. Connected to the wellness movement, prefers holistic over scientific. Intuitive over facts. Over reason, over thought, over reflection. So it's about experiences and emotions, is what Google is saying. Over any of these, over using your mind, basically. It's about using the way you feel. Self-empowerment outside of society and government. For example, self-help type of things. One of them being meditation, compassion work,
of course,
those type of things. Karma, these are categories that fall under New Age. The umbrella New Age is karma, reincarnation. These are practices also. Tarot cards, angel cards, crystals, oils, astrology, planetary alignment, alternate dimensions and realities, feeling connected to another world or planet, belief in aliens and otherworldly beings. Some of the practices include meditation, yoga, astrology. Pantheism is it's big in New Age. It's the idea that everything is God. As opposed to, I know we've heard of panentheism, which is God is in everything.
What about deism?
God is in everything, but New Age is pantheism, which that deism? Everything is God. Yeah. What about what?
Deism or deism?
Oh, deism, yes.
Yeah, deism.
What about it?
I was just asking, is that included?
Well, it includes in the sense of deity. Well, yes and no. It focuses more on energies and deities like the Buddha or whatever the
Buddha's a deity though, in a way. I mean, if you know the true meaning of Buddhism, I'm not trying to go there.
I know Buddhism doesn't like have a god or something. It's not like it.
Well, yeah, Buddha's not a god.
It's totally different. It's just maybe it's like a lifestyle of
meditation. It is a religion. Though.
It is a religion.
It's not New Ageism. It's an actual founded religion.
Okay, so another category that falls under it is mysticism, which is the practice of religious ecstasies and related ideologies, ethics, rites, myths, legends, and magic. So trying to find that ecstasy experience, either through DMT?
Yes, we talked about that earlier. Yeah,
through DMT or through meditation, extreme meditation.
It was religious experiences achieved through some kind of altered state of consciousness, yes, right? Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of times you do need a drug, or you can achieve it through meditation. It takes a lot, but I know that one big thing in the New Age is the Kundalini spirit, which is the serpent that sits at the base of your spine, and if you meditate long enough, it can move up through your chakras in your back and out and come out your third eye and like give you revelation.
Yeah, I guess my problem with the term New Ageism with this, you're actually delving into specific religious beliefs at that point. At that point, you're delving into Hinduism and like Buddhism.
But
those are not New Age beliefs. Like
no, Google categorized Hinduism, Hinduistic gods or deities under New Age beliefs.
I mean, I get that. I get that they like some of them draw influence from those religions, but those are actually like Hinduism is an actual classified religion, and it goes back older than most Abrahamic religions.
Mm-hmm. So what does that mean?
I'm just saying it's not new.
No, it doesn't have to be new. Are you saying that Hinduism doesn't fall under the New Age?
I think
because I don't know. Does it?
I think Hinduism influences the New Age, but I'm just saying
Hinduism.
I don't think that it's
Blanca,
new. I'm saying.
I'll interject here. The definition you use, which I agree with, is that it does draw upon Eastern religions and Eastern schools of thought and Eastern philosophy.
Yeah, but those are old school of thoughts. They're not new. They're very old.
Yeah.
That's all I'm just talking about.
It's peculiar.
When you say new, when I think new, I'm thinking specifically of like a timeline. You know, like.
Oh, I'm not even thinking about. That's just the name of it, New Age. I don't know if it means new, like as in, you know what I'm saying? I'm not thinking of a time period.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying these are old school of thoughts, schools of thought, and actually not even just schools of thoughts. They're based religions. Like we talked about secular religions in our past talks, and defining what a religion is, and it's like I just want to understand what taxonomy, as my brother came to me with, like what are we classifying something as? And it's just I don't classify veganism as a religion, but I would classify Hinduism as a religion. I think it is a religion. I think it goes beyond new age,
and it may. I haven't this is just what I looked up and got information on today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let me see. Okay, what else did Google say? It's an ancient pseudoscience. No, astrology falls under it also. Astrology falls under it. Reincarnation falls under it. Astrology being an ancient pseudoscience that draws upon math and astronomy.
Okay.
A New Ager would believe that there's an ultimate source from which all things originate, which is usually conflated with the divine. Who is God to the New Ager? That's another thing I had looked up. Who is God to the New Ager? And what I got was everything is consciousness. Every person is God. Consciousness can be harnessed to achieve perfection. Overcoming the self is overcoming the self. So who is God to the New Ager is you are God, basically. That's a fact.
So there's allow me to.
And then this is just a couple other points.
Sure.
To a New Ager, Jesus was simply a spiritual leader or a highly evolved soul. Here it is. They also focus a lot on what they call cosmic Christ, such as Buddha or Muhammad. Salvation is not found outside of us, but within oneself.
I have to interject. Muhammad is not a Christ, according to the most foundational Islamic beliefs.
I'm not saying the Islamics believe. I'm saying that New Agers would call Buddha and Muhammad a cosmic Christ.
I don't know any New Ager that I know that would call Muhammad a Christ.
Maybe not. And
if you could show me that, like, let's pull it up.
I don't know if I can show you. I just wrote down what Google showed me.
Oh, okay.
So and then the last thing I wrote down that was part of the New Age is manifestations.
Yeah.
Manifestations, as in calling something that isn't as if it is, to a like law of attraction type of things.
Of course. That's what I think. That's manifestation.
Yeah. That's manifestation. Yeah.
So and I think out of all of that, one of the biggest things that did you say manifestations earlier is falling out of, like, it's not as popular as it was, or is that what you said right before we started? Okay.
Did I?
Yeah, perhaps you did say that.
But I think it's still big if we're talking about the law of attraction. You know what I'm talking about, Fred, right? With the law of attraction, the book written by Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks.
Oh, I thought it was like Sandra. What was the name of the author? Let's look it up. I do need to look that up. I was going to bring up a book that it's based upon, which is Charles Hannell, the Master Key System.
Hannell, yes.
It's a book that has helped me tremendously. That's it.
So the Law of Attraction is a book written by Esther and Jerry Hicks, and
I thought it was Sandra Byrne.
And
The Secret is what I'm thinking.
Oh yes, The Secret. Yeah. And it's talking about Abraham Hicks. Okay, so who's Abraham Hicks?
I don't know.
in
I
the
know
law
Charles
of
Hannell,
attraction.
the master key.
So Abraham Hicks in the law of attraction, who like basically co-wrote the law of attraction. If you read the intro, it tells you who Abraham Hicks is. It's a body of, it's a collection of consciousnesses within Esther Hicks. So Esther Hicks, the woman who wrote the book with her husband, refers to Abraham Hicks as like one of the whatever that helped her write the book. But she discloses in the book that Abraham Hicks is not a person, but it's a collection of consciousnesses. I'm not sure if I'm saying this
Collective
right.
Conscious.
Collective consciousnesses that reside within her. Okay. That basically like just
so it's different from
write the book.
So it's different from what Carl Jung espouses, where he believes in an overall collective consciousness that connects all humanity. You're saying it's different from that.
Yeah, I don't even know if she uses the word collective consciousness. She says it's like a group of consciousnesses that helped her write the book. It's basically automatic writing is basically how the book is written.
So like revelations or like.
So like basically like how Stairway to Heaven, the song was written, like automatic writing.
Yeah, I get it.
I think who was it who wrote Stairway to Robert Plant? I know it's Led Zeppelin, but it's Robert Plant and it's Jimmy Page or Robert Plant. I don't know which one. If you listen to them on an interview, they talk about how they went like whoever wrote it, that person went into a trance, and when they got out of it, like they knew they were writing, but it was like a few minutes. And when they like came out of it, the song was written like within 10 minutes or something. So that was Stairway to Heaven was written by automatic writing. And so was the law of attraction. Did you know the law of attraction was written via what did I call it? Automatic writing?
No, from my understanding, the law of attraction was, like Frederick said, the lady who introduced it on the Oprah show.
I think her name's Sandra Byrne.
That's the secret. That's the secret.
Yes, but that's
the law of attraction that it made it into.
But the book
that's from Charles Hannell,
the Master Key System.
But then I think
which
he
is
got
a very
it from
profound book to me, by the way.
From not Edwin Hubble. That's
you're thinking of Dianetics.
Ron Dianetics.
Oh,
thank you. L. Ron Hubbard.
Scientology.
L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah. And I think
that is New Ageism for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think that's where a lot of that kind of came from, which kind of makes sense because that's precisely what he was espousing. He was espousing this kind of, and you have to think about when it comes to the New Ageism and the especially manifestation, it comes in the wake of quantum science, right? So quantum physics is that you have the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which is that
the what principle?
This principle where you
just say it again.
The Heisenberg uncertainty principle.
Oh, okay.
Don't go Breaking Bad on me.
I know, right? It's a fascinating thing though, because you don't. It reconstitutes our understanding of the natural world. The fact that the natural world changes based on your observation.
That goes into quantum mechanics, like I said last time.
Exactly, it's quantum mechanics.
Like
yes.
That goes into quantum mechanics. Changes what happens.
Yes, because if you were to theoretically observe a particle,
or at least at the very basic,
it would change
it influences
based on that.
There is that experiment where they ran that light through those slits, and if you watched it, it changed what it did.
So that is the double slit experiment, which is the fundamental. That's a fundamental experiment in modern physics, which basically it's fascinating. It's
I think it's facts.
It showcases that the entire world is split up in particles and waves, which is super important when you want to understand the natural world.
Yeah, it's facts.
Let me read this because I looked it up.
Sure.
So these are, who is Abraham Hicks? Abraham Hicks is the name of a non-physical entity that is channeled by Esther Hicks. So she's channeling Abraham Hicks.
So he didn't actually exist in reality?
No.
She just made this up in her
No,
head,
she didn't make it up. She has entities. She's being the channel for this entity that wrote the law of attraction.
But she's the only one that knows this entity. Like, it's not a historical figure. It's
not a historical figure.
Well, that's why I think it makes it different when you start mentioning people like Muhammad and things like that. Like, at least those belief systems are based on historical people that we can actually reference.
Yeah, you know? and I wasn't trying to disparage Muhammad or any like. I was just reading what.
Well, I mean, I'll even go to Buddhism. I'll just even go to Buddhism. Like, even if like Siddhartha Gautama was a historical figure that we actually objectively recognize as actually existing. This lady seems to be referencing somebody that we like. If we try to put her feet to the fire, so to say, we can't. I don't know, like who?
No, Abraham she just Hicks? Wrote one of the best.
That's like saying who's 50 Cent, who's Jay-Z.
Abraham like, Hicks is the author of like one of the best-selling books of all time. That's who Abraham Hicks is, a non-physical entity.
But it's just her.
But it's not. It's Abraham Hicks. Okay. She's just being the channel. Like, she is taking pen to paper and writing down. Here it says, at the start of their journey, Jerry, her husband, would write down what Abraham Hicks would say through Esther using their process called the proprioceptive writing technique. Esther, their teachings are said to be about the law of attraction, right? Esther describes them, which is Abraham Hicks is a them, as a group of non-physical entities who present themselves as Abraham and who speak through a process known as channeling.
Yeah, I'm not knocking whatever she states them to be. I'm just asking, just for the purpose and the contextualization of our conversation and our discussion, this person is a fictional for the sake of
it's truth. Not a fictional, it's a very real thing. It's just a non-physical entity.
Well, so you believe in Abraham Hicks?
100%. Abraham Hicks is a real.
Well, hey, I think.
I mean, I'm not going to be talking to Abraham Hicks, but Abraham Hicks is definitely
a real thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I think we'll wrap this up and might continue this on the next episode, actually, because this is a topic we really want to go into, especially for you viewers. It helps explain a lot of the philosophies that you might see nowadays crop up in your social media or whatever. So we have to delve into this more, and we're on this journey with you. We must be. So yes, yeah.
That's a cut. That's a cut.
Cut. Yeah.